Auburn wins big, but they do it without Johni Broome. What's it mean?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, a special post-game edition of the show. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making us your first listen. Auburn takes down Georgia State 100-59, and that's all well and good. That's all well and good that you covered the 40-point spread, but Johni Broome leaves the game very early into the action, and that is going to be the number one priority of every Auburn fan that watched this game. Sure, it was great to whoop Georgia State, especially towards the end there, because they played pretty dirty, and we'll talk about that later, because that is nice that we beat them that bad. But Johni Broome, it looked rough. The scene was hard to watch. Clearly injured, runs into the locker room, later comes back. He's crying. Like it didn't look good. Took him a while to come back after half. But throughout the second half, you saw reports from different beat writers, and then somebody that I text with saying, "Hey, I don't think it's as bad as it looked," and hopefully that's the case. I think it was Jason Caldwell that said he was told by somebody from the team that it was not major compared to what he dealt with last year with it, the shoulder sliding all the way out. Hopefully it's fixed. Hopefully this is something that you can recover from in a few weeks. He came back out in a sling. He was seen laughing and kind of cutting up on the sideline with his teammates. He was eating some snack. I don't know if it was like gummies or what, but he seemed in good spirits. I don't want to read too much. This is pure speculation, but you just got to think, if you're the leading candidate for Player of the Year, surely you wouldn't be cutting up if you felt the news was that drastic. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm expecting him to be okay. I'm expecting it to be okay. Sit him as long as you can. Sit him against Purdue, whatever. Non-conference, the season's already been incredible in the non-conference action, whatever. Maybe you can beat Purdue without Johni, whatever. Hold him out as long as you need to. Don't rush him back. It's not important. You need Johni Broome in March. You need Johni Broome. If you want to achieve everything that this team is capable of achieving, you need Johni Broome. Yes, Auburn is deep. Yes, Auburn has a lot of different guys they can throw at you. Yes, Denver Jones and Miles Kelly and Tahad Pettiford, all those guys can get hot. Dylan Cardwell can be dominant down low. Chaney Johnson is extremely versatile. All of this is true. But you need Johni Broome to make a run for a title. Johni Broome is the engine that makes this thing go. If Auburn wants to have a historical season, they need Johni Broome. Rest him as long as you can. The vibes seem to be way better now than they were when he originally got hurt. And let's pray that all that is true. All that is true. Let's take our time. No need to rush. Goodness gracious, what a scary scene. What a scary scene that was. Oh, man. Auburn wins 100-59. And look, you look at the line on FanDuel, it's 39.5, and it's like 40 points, and then they do it without their best player, the best player in America. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Oh. Folks asking where Daryl is. Daryl is at the game covering it tonight. He wanted to go cover one in person before conference play started. I'm like, absolutely, buddy. Have at it. We'll probably get some text updates from Daryl throughout the broadcast. But the silver lining in all of this is we got to see a glimpse of like worst case scenario, which is kind of what happened to start the game. In a worst case scenario, what does this look like? We don't know. We kind of do now. Is Georgia State a good basketball team? I don't think so. Man, they were dirty. You could tell that was their plan going in. And look, if you're going to pull off an upset, you got to do stuff like that. But goodness gracious. And then their coach trying to get into it with Bruce Pearl towards the end of it. Like, what are we doing? You're leading young men? Goodness gracious. But in a worst case scenario where you miss Johni Broome, do you have guys that step up? And that's been the theme of this entire season, is when you need somebody to step up. Every point so far this year, I guess you could argue maybe not Duke, but everybody, there's been a situation where somebody has stepped up. At times it's been Miles Kelly. At times it's been Denver. At times it's been Dylan. Tonight, it was Chaney Johnson and Denver Jones. Auburn did not shoot well from behind the arc tonight outside of Denver Jones. They shot 9 of 25 as a team. Denver was 5 of 7. Insane. And I think Denver was like 4 of 5 or something last game. If somebody wants to fact check me on that, like, goodness gracious. Denver Jones is red hot right now. And then Chaney Johnson, I'm just going to pause for dramatic effect. Chaney Johnson, 12 of 14 from the floor. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And we've talked about how efficient, how steady Chaney Johnson has been. But it's like, okay, in a situation where he's not, or well, all of a sudden he's the most dynamic big man on this team, like, what does that happen? What does that look like? Now we know. It's like, okay, if Chaney Johnson needs to have a larger role, he can deal with it. Yes, it's against Georgia State. No, I don't think Georgia State's good. But all in all, like, you can just, like, he passes the eye test, and he's done that in smaller sample sizes. And when he is the dude down low, like, man, it's fun to watch. Very quiet. TK, what was it we were saying last time? Library quiet. Daryl start that? Library quiet, 12 of 14. And then Denver Jones is just red hot. Chad Baker Mazzara, 19 points, 4 of 11. Got to the free throw line 11 times. Made all 11 of them. Come on. And there's a lot to like about this. Now, ultimately, like, the main thing here is what's the update with Johni Broome, and we're probably not going to know much about it. I don't know. Maybe Bruce will say something. Some of the players are talking to the media right now, so maybe we'll get Bruce soon. But I mean, just the feeling now versus when that injury happened. It felt so bad. Like, it felt so dramatic. Amount of people like tweeting out like, "Oh my gosh, we're Auburn, we can't have nice things." Like, that was rough. That was concerning. And I mean, we're not out of the woods yet by any stretch of the imagination, but goodness gracious, it seems like it's a lot more hopeful than it was. And hopefully that's true. Hopefully it's not like false hope. All right, who is your player of the game? Let us know in the live chat right now. Who is your player of the game? You can make an argument for like 4 different guys. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Right now, you can bet $5 and win $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet hits. And the beauty of this is Auburn was a 39.5-point favorite, and they covered without the best player in America. It's insane. That's absolutely insane. Head over to FanDuel.com, and you can see why. They are America's #1 sports book. Today's show is also brought to you by the College Football Playoff. It's that time of year. The College Football Playoff is back. And with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement you love. TNT Sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins on December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff Kickoff Show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. leading into SMU and Penn State. And then, of course, Clemson looks to take down the Texas Longhorns. You can watch college football playoffs presented by Allstate, live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Several folks saying Darrell Dapich, player of the game. Of course, he will be texting me updates if Bruce Pearl's presser happens while we're on. We'll try to stay on that long just because Johni Broome update is a big deal. Most folks, though, if you're not saying Dap, you're saying Chaney Johnson, and it's hard to argue with that. I mean, his most explosive game as an Auburn Tiger, 26 points, 12 of 14. And I mean, that's just the kind of leadership that you want from a guy like Chaney Johnson, where it's like, okay, like, here's my opportunity. Here's my opportunity to do something, not just, to help myself, but to help my team when we're kind of down a little bit. And that's exactly what they did. Another thing that I love is just how they finished this game. Georgia State did not score in the final 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Love that, because they were trying. Most of that was after that scrappy crap that was totally not needed at that point in the game. But Auburn outscored them 11-0 in the last 2 minutes. Let's close, baby. Let's just close this thing. And that's exactly what they did. You could tell they wanted to hit 100. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. Yeah, somebody in the live, I lost it because the live chat so busy. But one thing that is worth noting, and for folks in the live chat saying like Auburn can beat Purdue without Johni Broome, you may be right. But there is a major glaring stat from tonight that gives me pause with that. And it's total rebounds. Auburn versus Georgia State, 34 rebounds apiece. They tied at 34. As far as relevant minutes, Auburn was probably out-rebounded by Georgia State. So, like, was that solely because Johni was out? Like, I say yes. I say yes to that. Like, if Johni plays, I don't think that's the case because Johni gobbles up 20 rebounds a game, it seems like. So, to me, I think that's concerning. That's a little concerning. Like, you love the ability to score. Auburn's offense, and they're the number one, they're the most efficient offensive team in America. Like, okay, that's good, but you got to be able to do everything if this team is going to accomplish what we're talking about, like winning the SEC regular season, winning an SEC tournament, going back to a Final Four. You can't let Georgia State beat you at the rim. No offense to Georgia State. However, don't really like Georgia State right now, but no offense to Georgia State, I guess. And how much of that are you willing to write off because this team is constructed to go through Johni, both from a roster standpoint and from a game flow standpoint? How much of that is just that? And if they need to, learn how to play without him for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we hope that's kind of it, can they fix that? And it's probably some of both. There's also the element in the first half, because like the first half wasn't pretty, but they probably felt the same thing we did with Johni, right? It's like, oh my goodness, our dude, our leader, our guy who's playing better than anybody in college basketball went down. Like, there's probably some uncertainty. How could that not impact your play? So I don't know if we even need to read into that at all. Let's see what happens. Show me who you are against Purdue without Johni, assuming Johni doesn't play against Purdue. Can Chaney be that guy? Tonight said that I think he's ready for it. Like, if they have to go an extended period of time without Johni Broome, they probably make Chaney that guy. I mean, he's earned it. You got to think. So we'll see exactly what happens with that. So other guys that stood out, Ja'Kai Howard, 1 of 3 from the floor, got to the free throw line 4 times. Was the perfect 4 for 4. There's a 7 points. 7 points in 14 minutes. Like, he continues to get it done in smaller sample sizes. And it's clear how explosive he is. It's clear how dynamic Ja'Kai Howard can be. The JP Pegues thing continues to be a mystery to me. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked at the lack of, him fitting in. It's sad. That's a bummer. I was really expecting him to be explosive. So he's been solid. If Johni misses an extended period of time, does he get more minutes? Probably. I would think that most people do. So, as far as KenPom goes, Auburn remains the number one team. I think somebody in the live chat said that their number went up, which they were projected to win, but not by as much as they did. So I guess that makes sense. So they play Purdue next, and Purdue is ranked 21st in KenPom. We'll see. Is Auburn ranked number one if Johni Broome's not playing? Like, let's all be honest with ourselves. Like, probably not. So let's just see. We'll see what that looks like. Give me your questions, your comments. What is Auburn's record over the next 5 games? We'll play that game in a second. All that's coming up. But to me, like the biggest thing was, okay, that was a brutal potential loss, and Auburn battled through it. And it's taken Bruce Pearl longer to come out. I'm sure he's getting information on his all-star player, which makes sense. I don't know if that's good or bad. No clue. It's probably indifferent. It's probably going to be the same no matter what. So give me your takes. Anybody got any juicy hot takes before we jump into like what Auburn's record is over the next 5 games? Seems like there's mixed feelings on Johni Broome. Some people are kind of with me. It's like, okay, maybe it actually isn't so bad because he was in such good spirits. And then I think there's other folks that are saying it is bad. Hopefully we'll see. All right. Next 5. Purdue, Monmouth. They open conference play against Missouri, Texas, at South Carolina. I mean, I don't think there's any way you could just assume that Johni is playing on Saturday. And so that kind of lends me to think that you may not win that one. So when we did the post-game show after Auburn just totally boat raced Ohio State, Daryl and I both said 5-0. I don't think Auburn goes undefeated. I don't think Auburn goes 5-0 without Johni Broome. And I'm just, until Bruce says something definitive, I'm just going to assume that you're at least going to miss him for Purdue. It might be, I don't know why you'd bring him back for Monmouth either, but Auburn could beat Monmouth without Johni Broome. I'm going to go 3-2 just because of the questions around Johni, because I don't think you're guaranteed to have him in any of these 5 games. And going to Texas and to South Carolina. South Carolina is a good basketball team. There are no nights off in the conference this year. 3-2, that changes. If Johni is in the lineup, Auburn wins that game. That is my prediction. So it just depends on how long Johni is out. Seeing some other 3-2s. I'm seeing a few 4-1s. David Jones saying 100-0. That's the energy I'm looking for. AU Tiger 97 saying Johni was eating popcorn as soon as he came out in a sling. Good news. Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily the eating. It's the him laughing and cutting up with teammates. I think that's something to look at for me. All right, a few people saying 5-0 with or without Johni. I love that. I absolutely love it. A few folks saying 0-5. How about that? Good for y'all. All right, so we'll keep you posted. Be sure to follow Daryl on socials. He'll be live tweeting Pearl's presser as soon as he comes out. I'm kind of curious to see how much info he actually gives. I mean, how much do they really know at this point? And at what point is it worth like sharing all of it? We'll see. we'll see. Finishing hot. I mean, I think that's the takeaway. Then when guys needed to step up, they did. Denver stepped up. Chad Baker-Mazara stepped up. Chaney Johnson stepped up. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Thank you all so much for helping us get over 20,000 subscribers. Still feel free to like the stream and the video as well as subscribe. Still helps the channel grow and grow and grow, and we appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, this has been Locked On Auburn.